Let us leave an inheritance, Geronda. Many people place their hopes on the monasteries. I feel the heavy burden of this responsibility. Yes, the only thing left now, as many say, is for some saints like Saint Cosmas the Aetolos to go around the country preaching and enlightening the people. The monasteries are spiritual centers. If the monasteries were not there to help with the Greek Revolution of 1821, how could the revolution have taken place? Again, during the German occupation of World War II, it was the monasteries which held things together for the poor people. This is why they were destroyed later by the bands of communist sympathizers during the guerrilla warfare. Most monasteries were not burned by the Germans, they were destroyed by these bands of communist sympathizers. The Germans had threatened, if we find weapons in the monasteries, we will burn them, to make themselves look good and to give the impression that it was the Germans who burned the monasteries. These bands conspired by leaving some old weapons in the monasteries and then reporting it to the Germans. When the Germans found these old weapons in the monasteries, they set the monasteries on fire. With this sinister technique, the communist bands had many monasteries burned because they were afraid of them. This was their reasoning. If the state becomes atheistic, we will not be able to achieve our goal if the monasteries remain, so let's burn them. And they burned them in this way. Today people will go to the monasteries to find some spiritual yeast. But if the monasteries have become lukewarm and have no good spiritual yeast to give, what will people take? They won't find any yeast. We must therefore try to keep some yeast for the difficult years ahead. People who used to go to magicians and sorcerers now come to the monasteries for help. Later, people who are tired and weary of sin will come to us. And then, even if we send them out to drink and to sin, they won't go. During these difficult years, God is calling people with a personal invitation to join the ranks of monasticism. This generation starts out for monasticism on the best of terms, with ideals, but the devil renders useless all this potential. The next generation won't be like this. Many will come to the monasteries who will not be suitable for the monastic life. They will be in such a state that they will be forced to become monks. They will be worn out and wounded by the world. Married couples will be divorced with or without the blessing of the church. And these spouses will go their separate ways to live in the monasteries. Young people who are weary of the worldly life will go to the monastery, some for the salvation of their soul, and others to find some peace and serenity. Others who really want to marry but who are afraid to commit themselves to another person will become monks. In other words, in the coming years, people with mental illness and others who hesitate to start a family will perhaps come to the monasteries. They will be saying to themselves, "What will I find in married life? What will I do in the world? It's better to go and become a monk." That is to say, some people will take monasticism to be a life of ease and idleness. Now, as to what kind of spiritual progress they may make, well, that's another matter. No one will come in a spirit of repentance. People will be in such a state that they'll be forced to become monks. Their motives won't be pure. This is the danger. It's different if someone sets out specifically to become a monk. These people will need a great deal of help, because having tasted the pleasures of the world, the devil will oppose them more strenuously, while the rest of us will not be opposed so vigorously. With us, the devil will try to prevent our spiritual work, to weaken our resolve with negligence or slothfulness, so that those who follow us will not find any spiritual yeast to ferment their own spiritual life. What I am trying to say with all this is that we must now make spiritual progress in order to be able to help these other people. We must leave them a patristic inheritance. We have spiritual joys, but we don't have heavenly joys. We have an ordination, a vigil, we chant the psalm servants of the Lord, and we even swing the chandeliers and experience joy. But these are not heavenly joys, they are physical joys of the heart, in the good sense of the term. Heavenly joy is something higher which cannot be expressed in words. When one begins to taste a little of these heavenly realities, the heart is profoundly stirred and seized by a divine madness. We must experience these joys of heaven so we can transmit them to the coming generations.